next 6 months. It's great to have a host. We've had a blast with our live shows lately. The Russo Show at Delano's Pizza, the Cheryl Reeve Show at Free House, this one at Mississippi Pub. I think we have another live venue on board that we'll announce here in the near future. So check out MississippiPub.com for pictures of their layout. And again, follow us on social media. Souhan Strib for me, Viking Update for Tim, and we will get you further dates and times. Again, the idea is for people who are coming out to the TCO Performance Center to go out to lunch at Mississippi Pub, to go out to dinner at Mississippi Pub if you're staying over. We want it to become kind of the home base for people who have decided to spend some time at training camp.
Yeah, and it's only 10 minutes away from training camp.
It's a very easy drive.
The river. I mean, you get to look at the river while you're having food and drinks, and I would highly recommend the fried pickles.
Yeah, and I have celiac, so I couldn't have the fried pickles. So I had, I think I had the fish tacos, which were really good. But I was really jealous of you guys eating the fried pickles. Let's get to Diggs and Thielen. As you ask the question, who would you rather have? And that's a tough question to answer.
It is for me, too. I mean, each of them might be a little better than the other in certain areas. I don't know. If I had to choose, I would probably choose Thielen. I would
take Thielen just because there's just a gulf between potential and production. And I think Diggs might, if everything works out perfectly for him and he stays healthy, he might be the better receiver. But based on production, Thielen has been the better receiver, and he's healthy, and he's durable, and he's reliable. And I just don't know how no matter how much you can project Diggs to be really good, Thielen's been better. I just got to go. I got to go the safe route. I think he's the safer pick.
In some ways, I think they are very similar. They both are very good going after contested catches. Neither of them drops a lot of passes. The one negative I would have on Thielen is sometimes he has fumbled when he's trying to do too much at the end of plays. But there are two things that, in my mind, give him the edge over Diggs. Thielen is a little bit more versatile. They play him in the slot more often than they play Diggs in the slot. And Thielen has been able to stay healthier than Diggs. Diggs has not been able to, put up the 16-game seasons. If he had, he probably would be a 1,300-yard receiver, but he's missed a few games here, a few games there, each of the last couple seasons, and that ultimately hurts him. I mean, if he had 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons, I don't think there would be much question that the Vikings, would be doing absolutely everything they can to re-sign him to an extension, although that's getting more and more expensive as time goes on. So I just don't know how that is all gonna shake out. Hopefully they can get something done here before the start of the season, or if they don't, hopefully it doesn't affect him, too much with his play on the field.
And, you've done some statistical comparisons. You want to take us through those?
Sure. I mean, if you're talking quarterback ratings when those two are targeted, quarterbacks have a 120.4 rating when targeting Diggs. It's 104.4 for Thielen. Diggs has had 8 touchdowns. Thielen had 4 last year. Diggs actually had a couple of more deep receptions than Thielen, which surprised me. My perception is, okay, Thielen is getting more of the deep passes. Well, Diggs had 12 receptions of 20 or more yards, but he was also targeted almost twice as much as Thielen was downfield. And then Thielen played 51% of his routes in the slot. Diggs was 24%. So twice as much slot action for Thielen as Diggs.
Last topic of this podcast, we are looking forward to a fascinating season. I think it's going to be a fascinating season for the Vikings, fascinating season in the division, and a fascinating season in the NFC. There are just so many great teams lined up. And it's going to be fascinating to see if Kirk Cousins really is the difference, which I've kind of projected him to be. And I'll probably be wrong because I'm always wrong about this stuff. Because as we will say, once the season starts, predictions are stupid. We'll get back to our regular segments, such as that. So before we get to the last topic, which does involve the Packers, Thanks again to WhizKids, WhizKids.tech, great Minneapolis company you'll be hearing a lot about. Thanks to Mississippi Pub, MississippiPub.com, TwillMN.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Again, download before you listen if you can. And if anybody wants to join our growing list of sponsors for this program or the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Take us through the last topic of the show.
Well, the national outlets have the Vikings and Packers very close in just about every way that they look at it, or the odds makers look at it, whether it's, the over-under win totals, whether it's who's going to make the playoffs or who's got the best chance of making the Super Bowl in the NFC. And they have ranked the NFC North as one of the best divisions now for quarterbacks, and the reason being, Kirk Cousins is here, and I think that gives the national media, the national fans of the NFL, a bit more of a feeling of stability for the Vikings, which they certainly haven't had there at quarterback for the last 4 years. I don't know how it's all going to turn out. Obviously, for me, I guess this is as simple as I can put it when you're talking Vikings versus Packers. The Packers have the better quarterback despite Kirk Cousins being in Minnesota. The Vikings have the better team overall, but the Vikings also have the harder schedule. So what does that all mean? I do think that we're probably talking about, one of the teams getting 10 wins, another of the teams getting 11 wins. And if I have to predict it, one of those two teams wins the division, and whichever one doesn't is in the wild card position in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Rams are loaded, the Saints are loaded, the Eagles are loaded, the Vikings are loaded, the Packers are great when Aaron Rodgers is great. It's going to be fascinating. It's kind of like the American League in baseball right now. You just have super team after super team, and it kind of leaves a lot of potentially pretty good teams on the outside looking in. We're going to get into predictions, and we're probably going to revise our predictions 85 times between now and the beginning of the season. Every year I find myself picking the Vikings to win like 11 games, and I don't see any reason to change that this year.
Yeah, that's basically been about the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That's been the case, and that's about where I would have them. I would say this, though. I think if they can get through their first 5 weeks with even a 2-3 record, that they can still get to that 11 wins.
Yeah.
The problem is those first 5 weeks are very, very difficult, and you've got a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator. So it may take some time, and it's going to make things really interesting. It may not be, hey, the Vikings are, halfway through the season and they've got a 2-game lead on everyone in the division. They may have to make up some ground as we get to the end of October, early November on, Green Bay, or who knows, maybe a Detroit has a good start to the season too. But if the Vikings can get through that first 5 games with a 2-3 or 3-2 record, I think they should be in good shape.
So welcome again to WhizKids.tech and MississippiPub.com. Thanks to our regular sponsors. Thanks to everybody who listens to this show and the network. It's going to be a big fall for football fans and for this company. We appreciate all the support, and we'll talk to you next week.